Hello, I'm Phil Little, host of the Private Investigator Experience podcast. Welcome and thank you for joining me. On our weekly podcast, we talk about private investigative cases and things that go on behind the scenes in the life of a private eye. But on this short post, I want to talk to you about some issues that you might not think are part of a normal investigator's life, but they will affect our communities and our personal safety and the safety of our nation. So I've titled this, America, Make a 911 Call. Things are serious. We're in trouble. And we all know things are serious when we get that 911 call. We need help immediately. Now, help. We are in danger. And as I investigate what is going on around where I live and work and talk to people, the first thing that is brought up is the state of our nation. There's a saying that I heard growing up in my life on a farm. Also learned about it in the Air Force. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Let that sink in. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's one of the things I've tried to do with all my years in law enforcement investigations and in the private sector is to get clients who spend a little bit of money on prevention and save a lot on enforcement. It's kind of difficult to do, though. And in American politics and government, that saying's being ignored. Not even in their vocabulary to have prevention. What I'm hearing from citizens is how bad things are for them. Their food cost has gotten so high. Everything they need has increased, sometimes double or more. Our nation is being overrun by open borders, and prosecutors aren't enforcing the laws and prosecuting lawbreakers. Much of our education system has become a propaganda machine for evil people to brainwash our children's mind with sexual and transgender concepts they should never be filled with or hearing about. I want to share some things I see affecting our security and personal freedoms. And if not stopped, they're going to get much, much worse as the future unfolds. Now, my goal is not to get you just to believe me. Take everything I say as fact, even though I'm presenting you facts, or to have you live in fear. My goal is to get you motivated to do your own investigation. Become your own investigator. And I know many of you secretly, because I have people tell me all over the world where I go, oh, I'd love to be a private investigator. So to work. See if I'm right or wrong. Now, first, for my investigation, I do not believe the answer is just political or get a different political party in power or different leaders. The problems that we're facing didn't start just in the last 2 or 3 years. They've been 40, 50 years in the making through many different administrations. And little by little, people have been eating away at our freedoms. We're in the middle, who are the silent majority. We've been silent, real silent. My fellow freedom-loving Americans, this has happened on our watch. Our generation is gambling away the future of our children and grandchildren. As an investigator, when I started out, particularly in the private sector, I have watched the decay of family values, work ethics, total lack of responsibility by both the current generation and upcoming generation. I watched internal theft that was a few $1,000,000 when I started a year come to billions in losses to the industry in the last years. I've watched the race riots from the 60s up through the 90s and still continues with unrest today in Los Angeles and other places. And I've just watched in disbelief. It's breathtaking how violence has increased, particularly over the last 3 to 4 years with the events from 2020 on. During many of those situations in Los Angeles, I was directing Coast Detective Special Operations Group, and we were at some of those events helping hold the line against violence out in the streets of Los Angeles. From my personal experience, I believe that the race issues have been flamed and expanded by evil people whose desire is for power. I've watched the loud, radical voices on the left rail against anyone that doesn't believe like they do and calls him a racist. I've had the opportunity to talk to many of those people. And the first question I say, any friends do you have who are people of color? When have you done something constructive to help improve race relations? When have you taken a person of a different race into your home when they needed help? I was either met by silence or they just turned and walked away. Now, just to let you know where I'm coming from, and I'm not just all talk. When my sons were in high school, they brought some young black athletes home with them at different times who needed a place to stay. They were going to school in San Fernando Valley, but lived in South Los Angeles. And this went on for many years. And still, some of them call me dad today. I have a black daughter in law. I have mixed race grandchildren and great grandchildren. We've had Asian families who came to LA after Vietnam that we helped and had children stay with us. So if you want to talk to me about race relations, tell me, what have you done to help? Are your actions where your mouth is? Many of our race issues and all the destruction of property and life in the last few years have been stoked by activists who want to change our way of life. And that's a fact. One of the actions used over the century to bring down governments and create a totalitarian type society is to start violence in their society by the hands of police so they can't stop it. They want it to get so bad that the public will accept any infringements on their freedoms and give power to the radicals who say they will bring safe streets back. Once they get power, they will never give it back. My friends, we've gone down a path much further than most of us realize. I kind of feel like I'm coming out of a long sleep. It is breathtaking how fast the evil is spreading, with new controls practically every day. I realize that I've been so busy with my own life and thinking we're free. We've been free for 247 years, the longest of any nation with a constitution in history. It's just going to continue. I don't have to do anything. We're free. That distracted me. Some thoughts on how we got to this place, this intersection, and which way we will go will dictate our future. Where were we when they took the Ten Commandments out of government buildings and courts? Where were we when they took prayer out of schools? Where were we when they took public displays of religious symbols out of the public square? Where were we when they took religious views out of the workplace? Where were we when they were acting these hate speech laws, they called them? Because we didn't realize what was really behind it. I've learned that this broad application of the hate speech law is not just about another race that you don't use hate speech or actions against. It's so broad that it includes Christians who want to pray for something in public. And this is not only going on in the US, but they exported it to Europe. And today in Europe and the US, people who gather across from an abortion clinic, not infringing on anybody's rights or traffic, and just pray, they're being arrested in Europe and US and prosecuted using these hate speech laws. We are in trouble. If you say, I'm not a Christian, I'm not going to be praying in public, so why should I worry about that? Well, history tells me that they will come for you next. It's only a matter of time. If you want to see some history on that, look at the history of Germany and what happened there when the people were silent, when they were busing the Jewish people to the gas chambers. Those people that were silent they only came for them. Christians and other minorities are being persecuted across the world, and it's growing. As I bring this investigative report to a close, I want to bring up one last thing. Hitler and other groups before him said this statement: "He who controls the minds and education of the children will rule the future." Let that sink in. Maybe you're a parent who says, "Well, but whatever they teach at school, I could get them kids straight when they get them home. I'll straighten out their thinking." But my friends, when children get educated and indoctrinated enough, it's very, very difficult to bring them back. He who controls the minds and education of the children will rule the future. If you think the attempts to keep parents out of their children's education to take away the decision about what they learn and allow the fact that teachers or others will tell the children to make their own decisions, not tell their parents. If you think that's no problem, wake up. The only hope for America is for those of us who have been asleep, the church, and ask you, the unchurched people who are Americans, who believe in freedom, you believe in security, lack of government control on your life, and you want to make the decisions about your children and family and live in peace, rise up. It's time we wake up and get involved. I pray that you will be awakened to start your own investigation to check out the facts. Look at history. Look at the present. And what can you deduce the future will be? Thank you for joining me today. Did I ask you to help me? Would you subscribe and like and share this video so we can get the message out to more people? It's time that we, who are freedom-loving people, stand up and let our voices be heard. My email is pi777 at gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment on any of the podcasts or YouTube, and I'll respond. Let me know what you think, and let's together make a difference. I'll bring you some more facts next time. May God bless you, your family, and keep you safe till we meet again.